In this episode, we will take a closer look at the mystic concept of Kundalini, its possible origin, associated ideas, and the way one goes about meditating under this framework of Kundalini. We'll also look at the views of some of the most renowned yogis and apparently realized persons of our times about this approach to meditation. Is Kundalini meditation a myth? Almost all meditation practices that are propagated today are based on the idea of Kundalini and associated chakras. The concept of Kundalini is so popular that one has to think twice before calling it as a myth. It can be viewed as blasphemous. I had discussed earlier how one of the well-known gurus of our times, namely Swami Saraswati, brushes aside Kundalini-based meditation as not meditation. Let me look at this practice a bit more in depth before sharing the views of some of the well-known yogis of our times on this idea. At the base of this idea, there is this mystical power called Kundalini. This power is often visualized as a coiled female serpent lying dormant in the perineum area, an area between the base of genitals and the anus. In Hatha Yoga lingo, this place is called Mooladhara Chakra. By the way, Hatha Yoga is the actual name of whatever is practiced these days as yoga, though what is actually practiced is just the tip of the iceberg. Most modern yoga gurus insist that this Kundalini is not a structure in the physical body but in some mystical body. But the way Kundalini is described, the techniques used to arouse it, and many concepts connected with it all correspond to physical body. In my book, namely Hatha Yoga Myths Shattered, I have discussed in great detail how this concept of Kundalini is closely tied to Hatha Yogic ideas of sexual energy and how the descriptions in Hatha Yoga texts map onto the anatomical details of our body. I will not go into those details here. According to the Hatha Yoga, this Kundalini is normally dormant. It needs to be aroused by suitable Hatha Yoga practices. Many of the asanas known today as part of yoga are believed to help in this project of Kundalini arousal. When this Kundalini is aroused, this dormant serpent gets agitated and starts hissing with its hood open and its body uncoiled. The main aim of Hatha Yoga is to guide this awakened serpent to its final destination in the head, or the so-called Sahasrara Chakra. During that journey, this energy has to pass through a mystical passage called Sushumna, imagined to be stretched between the lower tip of the spinal cord and the brain and passing through the spinal cord. On its way, it passes through 5 mystical centers called chakras: Swadhisthana Chakra, Manipuraka Chakra, Anahata Chakra, Vishuddhi Chakra, and Ajna Chakra. Hatha Yoga texts view many of the asanas as a means to strengthen the spine that supports this Sushumna passage. They also view the breathing exercises, or the so-called pranayama, as a means to cleanse this passage. This, they say, is very important for the unhindered movement of Kundalini on its upward journey. What happens when this Kundalini finally reaches her destination? Hatha Yoga texts claim many benefits: special psychic powers, or the so-called Ashtasiddhis, immortality, union with the divine, and so on. Now, what is Kundalini-based meditation? It's a meditation method which revolves around this concept of Kundalini, its passage through the Sushumna, piercing various chakras on its way, and its final union with her male counterpart in the Sahasrara chakra situated at the top of the head. The goal of this meditation is to coax this mystical power, Kundalini, to move upwards without any hindrance. One of the early forms of Kundalini-based meditations is the so-called Nadopasana, described in the 17th century Hatha Yoga text, namely Hatha Pradipika. The idea is to focus the mind on the movement of Kundalini as she moves upwards. It is believed that various sounds are produced when this Kundalini moves up the Sushumna channel. Initial sounds would be harsh, which later get refined into shriller and pleasing sounds as Kundalini moves up. The meditator is expected to concentrate on this sound and its variations. In a way, it is like using this sound as the dharana in Patanjali's terms. It is important to note that none of these ideas are ever talked about by Patanjali. So, Kundalini-based meditation seems to be of very recent origin, though most Kundalini diehards refuse to agree. Modern yoga gurus have improved upon this basic Nadopasana or Kundalini-based meditation, and they call it by various names. Instead of focusing the mind on some sound emanating from the chakras, they talk about focusing the mind on some imagined energy that gushes upwards from Mooladhara to Sahasrara through the 5 chakras. Some even talk about mentally circulating this energy up and down in succession. Many Kundalini meditation adherents and gurus claim mystical experiences, body sensations, psychic powers, and so on. Some even talk about harmful side effects. It's very difficult to question this deep-rooted belief system. The mystical ideas woven around Kundalini are so fascinating that one refuses to accept the idea that it may be just a myth. Let me quote 2 of the well-known yogis of our times on what they have said about this idea of Kundalini and meditation based on it. The first quote is from a well-known yogi from South India who is believed to be a realized person. His name is Ramana Maharshi, who lived during 1879 to 1950. This is what he said about Hatha Yoga. They, that is Hatha Yogis, think that after purifying the 72,000 nadis in the body, Sushumna is entered and the mind passes up to the Sahasrara and there is nectar trickling. These are all mental concepts. The man is already overwhelmed by world concepts. Other concepts are now added in the shape of this yoga. The object of all these, that is spiritual practices, is to rid the man of concepts and to make him inhere as pure self, that is absolute consciousness, bereft of thoughts. Why not go straight to it? Why add new encumbrances to the already existing ones? Talks with Ramana Maharshi, page 220. The other quote is from J. Krishnamurti, also a well-known yogi and also believed to be a realized person. He lived during 1895 to 1986. This is what he said in a question-answer session about Kundalini-based yoga.
Sirs, you can do this kind of yoga exercise for the rest of your life. You won't awaken spiritual insight, nor will the awakening of a higher energy come into being. You know, in the East has a word for this called Kundalini. Some of you probably have read or been caught in that word. But most of the people, as far as I've discussed with them, who have gone into this matter very deeply, they're always quoting somebody else back to the original mischief maker. Sorry, I just want And none of them, please believe me, none of them have awakened this thing. They talk about it. They feel certain experience, and which they call by this name. I've discussed with them very seriously. And what they are talking about is a certain form of increasing energy to do more mischief. I mean that.
Not that these two great men are authorities on this subject, but they were highly respected and still are. They were also believed to be realized gurus. Their words definitely carry some conviction. Now, you can decide for yourself what the truth is.